Okay, let's go ahead now and let's sharpen up some of those folds. So basically, what I'm looking at here is, can you see how we've got these like little kind of ceilings almost? Yeah, well that's the same here, except ours looks very soft. It looks very kind of suggested. It's not very clear. And what we can do to help kind of define them a little bit, for lack of a better term, is come in some low intensity and a rather large brush size, and just essentially just dig in and then crispen the uppermost edge of that, like so. Do you see that? Just a very small thing there. All I've done is taken a damn standard brush, kind of pushed it in there on the bottom, and then used the inverse to kind of sharpen the top edge like that. Okay, and that's created a very kind of crisp fold, which you can then sort of, you know, carry up there and stuff like that. That's the more kind of natural way folds on shirts like these tend to sit. And we've got another one here, so let's actually add like a straight edged in this one. So we've got a maybe kind of like a, what can we sort, like the top of a trapezium here. So let's go ahead and we'll kind of shape that in. And do this from afar a little bit, just so you can see it a bit more easily, and you can actually make the strokes a bit more informed and realistic. Okay, so you can see there, that's cool. We've got that going for us. Okay, maybe just sell it a little bit more by sort of coming in deeper there with those folds. Okay, and another way you could do it as well is you can use the inverse of the inflate brush, which just kind of what can we say? It makes things thinner, yes, but it can also kind of hollow out some areas as well. Okay, so the inflate brush here does have a use as well. Okay, so this area here, if it's kind of playing host to these little kind of caverns, as I like to call them, okay, it's probably going to be quite a rigid fold. So let's add that rigidity in with just the damn standard brush. And at this particular point in time, the damn standard brush is our go-to tool, but don't be surprised if our regulars like the trim dynamic brush also make an appearance, just because it's befitting their usage here. Okay, and let's do that as well. We don't want to go overboard with this. Some of them are just very simple, like for example this one here. Just put a line in there and you could pretty much call it quits. Maybe just exaggerate the top area a little bit, but don't make everything a cavernous kind of fold like that. Not everything is a cavernous fold. Okay, it's just sometimes there's a surface one as well. You can say there's one there. There we go. And it's probably better just to kind of exaggerate the edges of a nearby fold rather than always attacking the cavern, essentially. But I just wanted to show you there that if you do want to kind of create these deep set folds, that's how you do them. Okay, and then here for example we could almost manufacture one just by sort of doing a straight line cut and then just doing a little kind of triangle there and kind of bridging it off like that. Really, it's really cool what you can do. It really is quite nice. So again, Marvelous Designer, props to you for giving us or giving me a template on where to start. For me, when it came to character creation and folds, and you know, folds for me back in ye olden times when televisions were black and white and we heard broadcasts over the radio. Not quite that far back, but back before Marvelous Designer, well, especially before I knew of Marvelous Designer, you know, all the game industry was swapping to, you know, 3D scan data and all this stuff, and I was thinking, oh man, you know, just when I was about to kind of get into characters, then they're like, oh hey, good, we can get this amazing likeness now by using scan data, and I thought, oh gosh, I don't have the money to go buy some prototype 3D scan data. You know, what could I possibly do to try and get these super cool folds that I think I remember seeing kind of in Witcher 3 for the first time. You know, some of the costumes and outfits in there, particularly the noble outfits, they were superb. You know, you look at the fold details. I mean, everyone saw like, oh, I want the best sword and all that. I was looking at the folds on the clothing. I was going, wow, look at that, look how realistic that is. You know, and I was thinking, man, if only there was a way I could get some kind of start. You know, if I could get like a quick dirty scan and kind of take it from there, and then Marvelous Designer, cue the heavenly music kind of came into my knowledge base, and I was like, oh goodness me, look at that, that's the one right there. That's it, that's the that's where I'm going to get my base meshes, you know. Bye starting days off in Maya with just a 3D polygon model, you know. Hello to Marvelous Designer, where I can actually finally have a good foundation for my base mesh and any kind of clothing, which of course a lot of characters, they wear clothes, you know, so it's ideal, it's a match, you know. And I thought, wow, finally it's here. And then yes, so, you know, funnily enough, it's kind of outdated Maya for me a little bit, in the sense of, you know, I don't use Maya anymore to sort of create a base mesh. It's all in Marvelous Designer now, you know. So yeah, don't tell Autodesk that, but it's true. It's true, very true, you know. And that's why you might have been a bit kind of, what could I say, a bit taken aback about how little detail or kind of quote-unquote effort I seem to put into the Marvelous Designer part, because that's my mentality. I see Marvelous Designer very much as a kind of base mesh creation tool, rather than, hey, I'm going to create the most realistic looking fabrics in this software, because I know that there's another, it's not the final goal to kind of just stay in Marvelous Designer. It's got to go elsewhere yet, and I know one of those places it's got to go is ZBrush. So I thought, well, just give me that raw, you know, dirty 3D scan type thing, and I'll take it from there, you know. And that's essentially how Marvelous Designer fits into my personal pipeline, and hopefully how it could fit into yours. But I hope that you could even use Marvelous Designer better than I can, and you've got great and clever workflows where you don't have to lose a lot of the what could we say, a lot of the kind of folded detail that Marvelous Designer so graciously creates for you, you know, like we had to here for this tutorial. Okay, but yeah, that's just a little bit of a kind of story time with Mike, essentially, there. Okay, so what has story time with Mike led to a little bit? So it's led to some folds there, pretty cool. You could argue it's a little bit too kind of sharp edge now, in which case you can use your trim dynamic brush tool to just come in and soften up some of those edges. That's not a problem at all, you know. It all depends on how thick you see your fabric is. The smooth brush is your best friend in terms of just sort of you know, if you've got any particular edges that are just too straight edged and too sharp, the smooth brush just kind of smooths it all out, just like it says, just like its name. Okay, I'm just going to use the move tool now just to kind of change out some of these folds. And I think just to help sell the ideas that these are kind of folds, just bring the standard brush in and just kind of add a bit of goopy relief here. You can see that's made that look heaps better now, rather than just looking completely sort of flat. You know, they're not entirely always flat, so yes, it can be easy to get a bit carried away with any one given brush, but hey, don't worry about it too much. Don't, if that's the same thing, if that happened to you, don't worry about it. It's certainly not a big deal. Go away, ZBrush. There we go. Okay, not looking too bad. All I'm going to do here, I'm pretty much going to finish up this part here. I'm just going to use the inflate brush now and just kind of create some interesting undulations here, just in the fabric a little bit, just to kind of, you know, keep it from looking completely tidy and straight. Just kind of ruffle it up a little bit, just kind of stippling the brush randomly, and it's just creating sort of phantom, I guess, kind of like things that you can barely see, sort of different relief changes. Maybe I just sort of still kind of just tweaking a few things. I think just go for the inflate brush. Yeah. Okay, cool. And you know what you could also do as well? You could be a bit naughty and add the pinch brush. Check this out. If you kind of pinch randomly, you can see that you can actually tweak some of the directions on things, which can be cool, just to kind of mix it up a little bit, you know? Like I said, the nice thing about ZBrush is you just kind of go with the flow. Just go with the flow, and it's good. Okay? So there you go, that's kind of the end of the arm there. The funny thing about this particular point, this arm here with a nub on the end, it reminds me of those monsters from Silent Hill 3, the closers, you know, if it kind of had like an arm like that. It was very kind of creepy. So the crumple brush is another one you can sort of try. You can see how that's working there. You probably want to go maybe another subdivision level higher, and you can see it's just kind of creating crumples here. So I think it works based upon the direction you move. So if you go left and right, it kind of creates like vertical, let's sort of say, creases. So try and try and create crumples where your folds are a little bit. Okay, you can sort of see what's going on here. It's a pretty cool tool, though you probably could overuse it. I mean, obviously don't, you know, that's probably not what you're going for. I mean, even though that doesn't look quite bad, it depends how much she irons her clothes, you know. So yeah, just try and, you know, use it sort of sparingly, I guess. You can always kind of smooth it away if you don't like it, because it's just such a light surface effect, but it is quite cool for adding subtle detail as well, you know, particularly if you want to make the fabric look a little bit kind of worn, or we could say well used, essentially, you know. Ooh, blob. Yeesh. Okay, I don't know why I used that one. Okay, so crumple, color spray. You can also change some of this, like placement. You can make it pretty close as well, you know, so if you want finer kind of folds. Again, for this kind of thing, I'd recommend stippling it rather than kind of clicking and dragging. Just kind of stipple it. And then obviously down here, you could probably go quite extreme. And then you could just smooth anything you don't like away, so don't worry too much about that. But again, a lot of this kind of minor detail, personally, I would add into Substance Painter. I probably wouldn't add too much here like this, okay? It's just to kind of break up that layer of the clothing for now, you know, just to stop it looking from a piece of kind of digital clay slab, essentially, you know, just kind of give it a bit of relief. It's kind of like the noise filter on the, if you go down to surface and you click noise, you can see here that it's added this kind of like weird grain noise to it, and of course you can actually change the the alpha, sorry. Okay, so you can actually select a whole new alpha if you like, but yeah, that might be something you want to do. Just close that out. Okay, if you press OK on that, you can see that your fabric now has surface applied to it, but it's generally used for skin. Again, it's not really essential at this point in time. Okay, so what I just sort of do now is just spend the rest of the time now just doing exactly what we did on the other sleeve there over here. Okay, so kind of going in with your damn standard brush, emphasizing some key folds that you want, cutting in here and there with the damn standard brush, and just basically you know, kind of finalizing these folds now. We're getting close to finishing off the shirt. Very, very close indeed. So yeah, just take that time now to kind of get the folds exactly where you'd like and exactly the way you'd look. Well, say exactly, but sit where you're happy with them. You know, you could do folds all day if you wanted to, but there's other parts to do. So we should move on fairly soon. Okay, but there's no reason why you couldn't spend the time you wanted getting the folds, well, exactly right. Okay, but for me, I'll be moving on from this section very soon. Just going through this now. It's, again, just keeping my damn standard brush pretty big. You can see I'm not kind of downsizing it or anything like that. And I'm trying my best to keep a fair distance away from the actual mesh still, just so I can see the bigger picture, essentially, of what these folds that I'm kind of, I wouldn't say completely mindlessly creating are like, but I would say it's done with bold strokes, confident strokes. I'm just kind of, you know, painting what kind of comes to me, essentially, you know. And of course, your smooth brush is your best friend here. You've done something you didn't like, go ahead and smooth it back out, or if it's something that really isn't very nice, you can just undo. That's the nice thing about that. I remember, this is kind of probably going to go into another story, but I remember teaching ZBrush to some high school students, and it was incredibly daunting. And I remember back when I first learned ZBrush how daunting it was to look at this model, and then you see everyone else's models, that they've created with ZBrush, and you think, goodness me, you know, I can't do that. I still, plenty of times, I see loads of artists, you know, making games, and the character models that they create are leagues ahead, you know, of what I could possibly technically do and everything like that. And I think, goodness me, that's what this software is capable of doing. And you know, you see your results and you think, wow, you know, I've got a long way to go yet. So it is a daunting thing sometimes. But the nice thing I'll say about that is, the more you use the software, and I know this is like a broken record, probably every instructor out there tells you the same thing, but it is true. The more you use the software, the more confident you become with it, the more it stops limiting you, and it stops telling you, hey, you can't do this, or this particular thing you're trying to achieve here, yeah, it's not native to the software or something like that. Or you may be like, you know, if only I had a brush that would do this particular kind of feature or function. You know, the more you use it, the more you'll kind of find ways around it. The more you'll kind of find techniques that are, you know, that completely work for you and will be part of your regular tool set. Just like the damn standard brush has become for me. You know, I mentioned before that the damn standard brush simply didn't exist back when I started using ZBrush, and ever since it's come here, I'm like, oh, it's great. You know, but I would use the slash brush before, and there were other ways around it. You know, but yeah, the more you use software, the easier it's going to be each time you come back to it. It's just, there's no other substitute, essentially. You've just got to spend time with it, you know. Take it on a date. Treat it nicely. You know, every now and then yell at it as well, just because it's annoying and it can be frustrating. But treat it nice, you know. Take it out, spend a lot of time with it, get to know it pretty well, and yeah, you'll just gradually improve over time. And you generally, at least for me, I didn't see my personal growth and improvement until I finished characters, put it out there on the ArtStation portfolio page and whatnot, and it was like, wow, you know, he or she actually looks pretty good. And I could compare it with some of my older work and think, wow, you don't see it when you're kind of still producing the character and making the character, but side by side with some of your older work, you can sort of see, oh, wow, it's been a big improvement, you know. And then it's only then that it really kind of sinks in, at least it did for me, that, oh yeah, you know, I have had it has been some growth, essentially, you know. So yeah, don't get too disheartened by it. You just got to get bold with it. I mean, the high school students I taught, they were thinking that, oh, if I press this in the wrong place, it's gonna ruin it, it's gonna wreck it, you know. But no. It's not like that. The more you use it, the more you realize, I can make plenty of mistake strokes and just get rid of them and pretend they didn't exist, and no one's none the wiser. But with recording it this style, you guys get to see all the weird strokes I create and all the many times I press the undo button and all that sort of stuff, you know. So I hope it's helpful for you anyway. Okay. So last couple of bits, just going to do some big broad strokes of it just to kind of get the general shape. Tweak it a bit more, sort of what I'm looking for. There we go. So how does that look? That looks okay, not too bad. I might just come in the inflate brush here. I might just inflate some areas. Just very, very gradually. And then just deflate, create those kind of areas again. Because down here it's folded pretty heavily, so feel free to go and kind of create those areas again. And let's use the pinch brush just to kind of tweak some of the shapes. Smooth out anything you feel you need to. Okay, and why not give the crumple brush a bit of a once over, see what it can do for you. Again, stippling it I find has always worked the best for me. And smooth out any areas you don't want or don't like. It's a no commitment, 30 days money back guarantee, no questions asked, you know. just think I might commit to this fold here being big, heavy, and just kind of really dig into that there, and maybe even bring in my damn standard brush. Nice and big. Just let it lean into that area there, and then kind of cut under there. There we go, to create that nice shape. There we go. That looks better. Back to crumpling. Don't forget the tops. Change your brush size up every now and then to create different size crumples. And then just smooth out some of that, just so we don't get carried away with the effect. But cool, there you go. Now, I never sort of really call anything done until I've sort of, you know, just prior to exporting it out and everything like that. But for now, I'm happy with where that shirt is. I'm happy to leave it there for now and turn my attention entirely over to something else, okay? Having said that, however, I just realized that the shirt on the bottom there, we haven't quite done that. So I suppose we'll have to spend another video just checking out that part there, seeing what we can do there. Sorry guys, I was so focused on the upper parts here, I forgot about the tiny little pieces of the shirt we can see poking through. So one more video addressing all that, and then we'll be ready to move on from the shirt.